Welcome to another edition of Gopher Basketball Weekly with head coach Richard Pitino, Mike Grimm, and Justin Gaard with you. Glad to be along here as it's another week without any games during the week. It's a Saturday to Saturday to Saturday schedule, just 3 games over 20 days, 2 games, I think, over 13 days. And Coach, first of all, good to see you.
Oh, good to see you as well. Thank you. Great to see both of you guys.
Guardsy, good to see you also.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you. I'm sorry your weekend was so long, but I'm glad you're hanging in and you're joining us here on Tuesday. And you look like, Grimm, you've watched the Maryland game like 50 times. Like you look like you've gone back and reviewed that film, and that's what it's done to you, I think.
Well, if that's how I look, then that would be a good thing. I mean, that was a rough game, Coach. When shots are not falling, there's no doubt about that. When you're seeing that and trying to fix it somehow, and obviously the guys are hoping shots go in. When you're going through a game like that, what is that like?
It's horrible. When you give up, I think it was 63 points. You should win that game about 90% of the time. We were defending. We just lost absolute confidence and belief in ourselves offensively. And it's just, I'm sitting there on the bench going, okay, like, well, what do we run? Well, shots weren't falling. Our guys, besides Marcus, were not penetrating to the basket. Liam was in foul trouble, so we didn't have a true post presence. So it just was one of those nights where it's just like, nothing was going right on the offensive end, and you have to be phenomenal defensively. I thought we were good, obviously very good in the second half, but you better be phenomenal defensively. You better miss no free throws, because if your lack of confidence just goes away that quickly, you got no chance of winning the game. It just felt like that. It felt like kind of like Michigan State at our place a little bit, like where they just couldn't hit anything. I thought we were a little closer than maybe Michigan State was in that game, but man, we lost all confidence offensively, and that can't happen because you won't win games.
Defensively, they obviously were extremely well prepared. They were extremely energetic. You could tell they were confident defensively. In terms of how they defended Liam and how they kind of took some things away from him, got him in foul trouble, got him frustrated. He's been such a big part for you to have him, I think, take 4 shots. I'm guessing is not in the game plan. What did they do to him?
Well, we were easy to guard. It's not necessarily, and they do a very good job preparing, but like our fundamentals were so poor. Like our catches, we would catch the ball, and instead of squaring up and looking at the basket, we would just turn and just throw it to the other side. We truly lost confidence individually, and we weren't getting paint touches. Marcus had, I believe, 13. The next highest was 3. You're just not going to win that way. And it's not a knock on one guy, but if you have offensively, if you have one wing that won't shoot it when open or drive it, and then you have another wing that won't shoot it or drive it, and your 4-man won't confidently shoot it or drive it. And it's not like it's just Gabe and just Booth and just Brandon and just Isaiah. Like, it's collectively all of them. I thought where Jay helped off the bench was he was driving the basketball, getting to the rim. And it looked a lot like Marcus dribbling all around. Like, he was just trying to figure it out. So obviously it's on me offensively to get them going. But like, if you're not a threat, then you're not going to be able to throw it into the post. But we just were not, like, they're just loading up on the backside and we're not confidently attacking or shooting the shot. Well, we're going to be easy to guard. And we were really easy to guard that game. And give Maryland credit. I mean, they have really good length on the perimeter, and they're going to force you to go make plays. And we just did not want to go make plays.
And how tricky, too, in the middle of a game. I mean, we always hear about, in-game adjustments. If you're seeing that, what as a coach can you do to try to, I mean, it's not like you wave a magic wand in the huddle and say, hey, guys, get confident. But are there things you can or did try to do to get things moving a little more smoothly?
I mean, you got to get them out. You got to get them out when they do that. And, maybe give Jay a little bit more minutes, maybe give Trey a little look. But, like, our guys got to understand, and this is everybody in all walks of life, and this is why I enjoy coaching and I enjoy sports, because it really is like a microcosm of the real world. I just saw Liam Robbins when I was getting tested, and we get tested every day. And it sucks. Like, it sucks. There's nothing fun about it. It's annoying, but we're very grateful that we're able to do it. But every time we walk in there, if it's 8 a.m. or whatever, there's a collection of nurses, and I've never seen happier people in my life. And it's to the point where it can be annoying at times. I'm like, what? Why are they always in a good mood? But it's amazing. And I said that to Liam. I'm like, did you notice how good of a mood they're in all the time? And our guys have got to understand, like, yeah, the shots may not fall. Or like Liam was frustrated with the ref, so he gets his third foul because he's not happy. Like, you have to be able to move on. And, you know, there's that definition of toughness. I think Brad Stevens says about making the next right play. And that's what you have to do. And if you're not able to do that mentally or physically, like, you have to come out. And, you know, I think that's when you ask us, what can you do as a coach? Like, certainly we can fuel them. The players can fuel them, but they got to be able to just move on from, okay, I missed a shot, I'm going to make the next right play. And I'm going to make the next right play. And we just had a collection of guys that I don't think could do that in that game.
Brandon, after the game, said, we just made the mistake of thinking everything was just going to come easy. Do you agree with that? I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, but you're around the team, obviously. He said it was the slowest you guys have started pretty much all year. Do you agree with that sentiment that he said, or is he just saying something to the media?
I don't. I think it's a kid saying something to the media. I don't think he agrees with it either. I don't think I said to Brandon, hey, Brandon, we're going to go play Maryland. It's going to be an easy win. I don't think he believed it. So I would ignore 90% of the quotes that come out of the players' mouths. Not that they don't know what they're talking about, but I think a lot of it, they're just trying to figure out what to say and so on. But no, I don't think anybody felt it was going to be easy at all. Every game in our league, you know, I was thinking about it today, like what makes our league so good versus others? Well, when you have a league where 13, well, maybe 12, and it's not a knock on Penn State. They can beat anybody. Nebraska can beat anybody. You have 12 teams where their analytics or their net rankings can provide opportunities where they could have a good week and they're immediately back in the NCAA conversation. And like, I don't know who Maryland's playing next, but they're sitting there going, okay, this is our net. We're in the 40s. This is our, like, all we got to do, guys, win a couple of games and we're really good shape. Right. Like you even look at us, like right now, and again, the season's not over, but we're in really good shape to make the NCAA tournament because of our league and because of the quality of our wins. So I think everybody in our league says, hey, we can go beat Minnesota. They're 30th in the net rankings. Like, that's a huge win. So when you have that much quality depth, it's going to provide unbelievable opportunities in this league. I mean, I remember we played Ohio State, and I was like, man, they look bad. They just look disconnected. They look disjointed. They've won 4 or 5. And the game that they lost in league was to Purdue at the buzzer. So, no, I don't think anybody in our locker room feels like any of these games are going to be easy. Nothing's easy right now. And you know, honestly, like, people have to understand, too, just the lack of fans. When you're in the dog days of late January and February, it makes it even more challenging, and it makes it even easier for teams maybe to come in on the road. So, you know, give Maryland credit. I mean, I thought they were ready to go. We just offensively, if we're going to, you know, play like that, like we have zero chance. So we're really working on the fundamentals this week of just our catches, our drives, our passes, and our shot selection as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the week. This will be the 3rd straight week, and I don't know if it's ever happened in my time here where you've had basically 3 straight weeks now without a game during the weeknight, and you have some chance to practice and do some things. And it's unfortunate in a year like this that you couldn't have some games put in, but what kind of a challenge is that? Kind of on the flip side of what you're usually dealing with in January, where it's like 5 games in 9 days and those kind of things.
Well, I'm gonna just repeat myself over and over again. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And there is nothing normal there's nothing at all normal about what we're dealing with. And I know you certainly understand that. Yeah, I don't like having back-to-back week, you know, 1 game in a week. I don't like that at all. You know, it's funny, like yesterday in practice, just everybody was insanely cranky. And, you know, when you rewatch the practice, I was watching it this morning, it looked like a great practice. but in the gym, you just felt it. And so much of just talking to the guys after, like, what is wrong with you guys? It's about tutors. It's about a Zoom class. It's about, and they see this long week and they know they got 5 practices plus all the academic stuff because they're diving back in. And, that's a lot for them to deal with. But, they have to find a way to get over it. I mean, we all deal with it. And I say it all the time to Guardsy, nobody cares. When you complain, nobody cares. And I truly believe that. And that's not me being not sympathetic, but like life's going to keep passing you by, so you get back to work. Whatever the schedule is, it is what it is. Would I have liked to have gone after Michigan and try to crack it in Nebraska? I would have loved it. But we're playing in the middle of a pandemic. It's unique, but we're lucky that we've only had 1 game canceled. And, you look at Michigan, what they're dealing with right now. I mean, rug gets pulled out from underneath them. So it's we say it over and over again. It is a gift to be able to play right now, play safely. I think as we're moving closer and closer to conference tournaments and the NCAA tournaments, so there's a lot of debates that are going on right now. And my biggest thing is, if we can do it safely, let's do it. But if we can't do it safely, we don't need to do it. So long couple of weeks where you don't have a lot of games, a lot of practice in the middle of the dog days, but that's what's presented in front of us. We got to deal with it.
So when everybody is cranky, and you're trying to build confidence too, by the way, because some people are probably cranky because they haven't shot well. You mentioned the tutors. Like, how do you, throughout a practice, try to get people back to feeling good about themselves? Like you always say, let them know we're fans of them and we believe in them to go. Your next game obviously is going to be a tough one on the road as well. So they're going to need to be feeling confident by this weekend. Yeah,
I mean, here's my thing. If you look at our 3-point field goal percentage, we're dead last in the league in conference. Now we've played maybe the toughest schedule of anybody in the conference as well. You look at our field goal percentage, we're dead last. Now, the good part is we still have 4 really good wins in conference. We still got, St. Louis is a really good win in the non-conference, Loyola, a couple, Boston College. But you're not gonna jump from 14 to 5. You're just not. Like, you cannot get that much better in the middle of the season. But our defense, I think our field goal defense, I checked yesterday, was 6. It's much easier for us to go from 6 to 4, in my opinion, than 14 to 6, right? So, guys, maybe we're not going to be a masterpiece offensively. I do think there's things fundamentally we can improve on. If you're shooting 22% from 3, you're not going to jump to 50% like that. It's just not going to happen. So, embrace what you are. You may miss a couple of shots, but let's ramp up the defense so that we can get out on the break more. We can get some easier baskets. We're not getting any easy baskets. And just because you're not a great shooter doesn't mean you're not a great basketball player. You are. And it doesn't mean that we collectively can't do things very well together. So getting them to just understand that, we don't judge you as you better shoot 45% from 3 or else you're not a good basketball player in our minds. There's so many things you can bring to the table besides that, but just make sure you're taking good ones. Make sure you're confident. Make sure you don't lose that confidence because we believe in you. I told all of them yesterday, I wouldn't trade one of you. You can't trade in college basketball. I know when we're at our best moments, how good we can be. Let's just keep moving forward. Let's just keep moving forward and just get better. I mean, it's like I always talk about it. If you're trying to lose 30 pounds, that's a process that's going to take a long time, right?
Yeah.
Just one day at a time, guys. One day at a time. Ignore the numbers. We are 11-5, and just be as confident as you can be and pour yourself into the team as much as you possibly can.
All right, let's take our first break here. We'll come back. We'll continue to discuss this Golden Gopher basketball team. They will have a game on Saturday night, 6:30 at Purdue. Spencer and I will take air here on the network at 6. We want to thank Sunbelt Business Advisors. Onward for Business, presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors, wanting to be on your team when you buy or sell a business. Onward for Business, the one-stop shop for buying or selling your business and for payroll, insurance, bookkeeping, and more. Onward. Segment 2 of Gopher Basketball Weekly is on the way. This is Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino from Learfield, IMG College. And then I watched times. I'm reading too much into it, but it seems to me there are times where now, because people have said that he needs to do things, that he has gotten out of what he's really good at times, and that is sometimes you just take a game over.
Oh, well, you broke up a little bit at the beginning of that, but what were you saying again, Grimmer? Could you just?
I say it's. Yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. Sometimes sometimes the outside pressure, like Marcus needs to pass more. He's taking bad shots. All this stuff. I mean, he's a guard that's going to shoot a lot. What is that fine line between trying to neuter him to a bit and, hey, yeah, share the ball, but also there are times where you're going to need, a day where there's 20 from him.
Yeah, my whole thing with, and certainly I know what you're talking about Dan Dockich just, ripping Marcus throughout the whole course of the game. Like what any commentator and any person out there, they can have an opinion, and that doesn't mean they're bad people, but there's a million different ways to skin a cat. And the most important thing for Marcus Carr to do is to listen to me and listen to the coaches, because we have a plan for him. And Dockich or any of them can have an opinion, and that doesn't make them bad people. And if he was coaching the team, he could do it his way. But the bottom line is, I know that when we lose, it's on my shoulders. So I'm going to do it my way. And I don't want Marcus. Now, I want him to take great shots, but he better be aggressive. And yeah, he may take a couple, but you know what? The way that we're coaching him has put him on the list of top 10 point guards in the country. So I like the way we're coaching him. It's also allowed us to have some really good wins. So we're going to keep coaching him the way. Every player on our team is different. One thing I always tell them is, I don't want to hear that's not fair, coach, because I'm not going to treat Marcus the same way I'm going to treat some other guys. Marcus has been in the program for 3 years. Marcus has built up equity offensively in what it is we're doing. It doesn't mean that I want him to take bad shots, but yeah, I'm going to live with one or two bad ones if that makes him feel comfortable out there so that it can allow him to put up 25, 30 points. But every guy's different. And the outside noise, and there's so much of it, because everybody thinks they know what they're talking about. And again, that's not that they're idiots. That's not the point. What they're saying may be right when they're coaching, but we have a philosophy of what we want to do, and we're going to stick to it. And we're just going to have to live with that, that external noise. So we talk a lot about, if you just listen to the locker room and that's it, good things can happen. And again, I say it over and over again, like, parents are good people. The friends of these people are good people, but they only care about the kid. They don't care about the team. Doesn't mean they want us to lose, but that's what parents do. Stay in alignment with us, and good things can happen.
You mentioned paint touches earlier, and Marcus having 13. What's your goal, I guess? Do you have a goal for paint touches throughout a game, or a number where you go, okay, if we're getting this many, good things are going to happen, whether it's Liam, whether it's one of the guards, whether it's Marcus, whoever? What should people look for in terms of that to get that ball into the paint?
Well, I listen, I think, again, I think it's our 2, 3, and our 4 spot that are really struggling to get it into the paint. And if you're not hitting shots, you better be able to paint touch. And I think we really saw offensively why we were struggling last game was wings were not driving it. Now we need to create better movement, and there's certainly, it's not all on them, but if you're not confident enough to knock down the shot, you better be able to attack and read. So, we really, I don't know if there's a specific number, but if Marcus is at 13 and the next highest guy is 2 or 3, like, you're just not spread. You're really easy to guard. So, it's, we just got to work on the fundamentals of it. As much as the players don't like it, having a week of practice is really good for us. Yep. It really is good for us. And because we got to get back to work, we're kind of at the halfway point. I know we were missing a game in Nebraska, but a lot of good things can happen. The beautiful part of, we've won enough meaningful games early that these games mean a lot because of what we did early, which is exciting. Saturday is going to be 2 teams that are just dying for a win.
As you look ahead to the Purdue Boilermakers, they also are off this week. They also are going to, it looks like, miss Sasha Stepanovic, one of their real good threats, particularly from the outside. I watched that guy shoot. I'm not sure I've seen a guy with a quicker release since Dan Marino. I mean, he can catch and shoot and make it crazy. I mean, he's a really good player. Hit that big three against you guys late in the game last year to send it to overtime. So first of all, as you plan for this week, I suppose, as you said in the postgame a couple weeks ago, you can't assume anything, but I assume you have to plan as if there'll be a game. And two, how do you plan knowing that Stepanovic is not going to play?
He's an amazing threat. I mean, he has the ability to sprint off of screens, and the shot he hit last year versus us, I mean, that was an absolute moonshot. So he's a terrific player. And, I'm sure for Purdue, I mean, I was checking in with Matt Painter yesterday. It sounds like Sasha's feeling better, which is great. They're obviously a better team with him, just like for any of us. I mean, we're not football where if you lose one guy, it may not be like, when you have a rotation of 7-8 guys and you lose one, like it's not beneficial for your team. So the health and safety of that, student athletes are obviously very important. But, you got Michigan film to watch. They played one game without him. I'm sure they may change up things offensively to what they're doing, maybe to, they run a million different sets and all that. So our core fundamental defense principles got to be there as well as offensively get better. But you just, as we said before, I mean, you become immune to just Michigan shut down 2 weeks. This guy's out. It's just not normal. And, it sounds coaches are scared to say that because everybody jumps down our throats and said, you're making excuses. Like, no, we're not. I mean, these are reasons for why things are the way they are. I mean, we deal with more false positives. We've had guys miss practice left and right because of false positives where they're trying to get the PCR. It's very disruptive, but we want to play the games. We want to play them safely. And for everybody all around the league, we want to make sure that everybody's safe and healthy, but also making sure they're playing, because these guys want to play.
And with your defense, you talked about it in the second half against Maryland. I mean, they shot, I think, 28% in the second half. And watching the game was like, man, if you could make a shot here to get the lead into 6, like you were defending at a winning level in the second half. What changed from half one to half two? Or I think they were over 50% in half one and got out to the lead.
Well, I think we understood a little bit like this is our only chance, is we got to step up this defense. And I thought we were right there in the second half. Like we kept getting stops, but we just could not convert, and so we just it kind of is what it is. I mean, I thought our effort was good. I thought our energy level was good. It was just one of those games where we could not hit a shot and we were frustrated. Which is normal when you're shooting at that. But we looked back over my 8 years, I'm something like 51-16 when you hold teams to that low of a number. When you guard like that, you should win the game. And it was one of those nights where we were just abysmal offensively. And it's everything is on the coach, right? I mean, everything. And that's the exciting part of the job is if they're not playing confidently, like. It's not that I need to give them false confidence, but I got to make sure we're putting them in the right spots and doing the right thing to where it puts them in a position to succeed. If we keep defending that way, we're going to win some games in this league.
Well, I think that's the positive is earlier in the year, we've talked about it on this show, shots weren't falling, whether it was Illinois, whether it was Wisconsin, whatever. And all of a sudden the defense just deflated, right? And you could tell that offense was dictating defensively. I mean, if there was one positive from that game, it was that even though offense was a nightmare, you guys just kept getting stops. You just couldn't make the shot after it.
You can always control your defense. And like I said to you before, I think we're much closer to being a really good defensive team than we are a really good offensive team, and embrace it. That's okay. You can always be really good defensively. And, you're going to play some teams that may put you in a bind and do all that. But you give yourself a chance when you play great defense and you rebound because it allows you to get out on the break, play against an unset defense. So we're growing. We're getting better. I mean, before the Maryland game, we beat the hottest team in the country by double digits. We can't forget that. You have to have the shortest memory in this league. Indiana has a huge win at Iowa, lose to Rutgers, who had lost, 4 or 5 in a row in league. So, it's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is either.
No doubt about that. We will continue to talk about this team. When we come back, we'll have the long contested two with Justin Gaard. Our show is sponsored by Sunbelt Business Advisors. Onward for Business presented by Sunbelt Business. They want to be on your team when you buy or sell a business. Onward for Business is the one-stop shop for buying or selling your business and for payroll, insurance, bookkeeping, and more. Onward. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with head coach Richard Pitino, Grimm and Gaard with you. Our show is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors. We're glad you're with us. Gopher Hoops this Saturday night. It's a 6:30 tip-off. Spencer and I will take air on the network at 6. Here in the Twin Cities, we will be on Twin Cities News Talk 1130 and 103.7 FM. Justin Gaard, it is time for the long contested two with Richard Pitino, and we've been waiting really for 7 days since the last time you guys did this. Yes.
Well, and I want to talk football. We talk a lot of football in the long contested twos. And it seems like for every year we've talked about Tom Brady. We're going to get to him in a minute. But I'm curious, as a coach, Matt LaFleur is under a lot of heat right now because he kicks a field goal when they're up or down 8. He kicks a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and goal. Even Aaron Rodgers seemed a little surprised about it. Seems like he's annoyed about it. They give up a huge defensive play before the end of the half. Before we talk about your opinion on that decision and have a coach critique another coach, which I'm sure you're fired up about, is there one in your career or when you were working with Billy or working with your dad where like you made a call or you made a decision and it was just an absolute debacle and like everybody was ripping it after it and you just go like, how do you live that down? You always talk about moving on and moving forward, but when there's something that you just kind of blew and everybody thinks you blew it and you lost the game, what's that like after?
I mean, I don't remember like a specific one, but yeah, it sucks. Not necessarily about getting criticized by people, but it's, a feeling a little bit of you let your team down, and then as you take a step back, you realize that there's so many factors that went into it, but you're like, should I have called a timeout? Should I have done, et cetera. But I think the biggest thing as a coach, so like whenever I go to Las Vegas and I play roulette, right? I always play red or black. I play the color. I've made a promise to myself. I will always go with the last color. So if it's black, I'm going to put money down on black. And if it goes through, I'm always going to do that. And then over time, hopefully that will, you're going to lose obviously because it's Las Vegas. Well, my point to you is this. If Matt LaFleur stuck to his process and made the decision because I have timeouts, I have Aaron Rodgers, so on, like, then feel good about it. You're not going to feel good about it, obviously, because you lost, but, believe in it. There's a really good podcast I listened to today. I forget who it was, but it was a poker player. Annie Duke, is that somebody? Maybe that's somebody. I don't know. But anyway, she's talking about the worst thing in the world you can do is make decisions in fear of the result. And Pete Carroll was the greatest example of that when he passed the ball instead of handing it off to Marshawn Lynch. Like, if that pass was caught, everybody's saying that was a great call. So, yeah, I mean, you feel horrible when you make a decision and it doesn't benefit the team. But Aaron Rodgers, obviously one of the greatest quarterbacks in the game. But, like, man, you're part of a team. Like, roll with your coach. I hate when players get all in a tizzy when we say one little thing bad about them, but yet it's not a two-way street. And so, Matt LaFleur's got to make the decision that he feels is best. I mean, now, if your thought process wasn't right, then I think you have a problem as a coach. So for coaches, the debate is always foul or don't foul.
Right.
And when you're up 3, what all the frauds in the media and all the fans that rant and rave about it, they never talk about when the guy misses a 3 and the game is over, ever. So it's just, well, what do you believe in, right? I mean, because I think the numbers do support not fouling. It's just not fun to talk about, they didn't foul and he missed a 3. But you know what, honestly, like coaching, you're going to be put in a spot where you got to make a tough decision. And I'm sure it sucks right now for Matt LaFleur. And I've had that feeling never at that level to go to that. Obviously, my dad dealt with it in 1992, the Duke game. Yep. 2 point whatever it was seconds to go, and he didn't put a guy in the ball. and got a huge bunch of criticism for that. And you just got to live with it, and you got to find a way to get over it. And it's just part of the deal.
Well, I think he just talked, speaking of Dan Dockich, I think he just talked to Dan Dockich about that over the weekend. And he told the guys not to foul Leitner, so they just backed off. And so he hasn't gotten over it, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you, going all the way back to 1992. So what about just the decision? Were you surprised when, because I don't think you saw this part of the game, you're with your family, but when you found out that it's 4th and goal, you're down there, you're down 8, and with Aaron Rodgers, you do kick a field goal. I was just stunned when I saw the kicker, Mason Crosby, go out there, because it never even entered my mind as I was watching the game that they weren't going for it once they got to 1st and goal. Yeah,
I mean, you try to put your coaching hat on, like when you're a coach. I try not to watch like a fan, which I do, but I always try to put myself in their position. And he has all of his timeouts. He's got Aaron Rodgers. I'm assuming Tampa's got a good defense. I don't know. I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. So I think he's probably thinking that, let's keep the game alive. So yeah, I mean, I guess I get the criticism for it. It was certainly surprising. But you also got to give credit to the opponent as well. And, Tampa Bay's story is amazing. And it's my brother lives in Tampa, so there's nothing more annoying than these fake Tampa fans that pretend to actually care about football and pretend to care about hockey.
Yeah,
and we got it, or the Rays. They care about baseball. It's the worst fan base on the planet who's getting all these good things happen to them. So we're happy for them.
Well, it is Florida just in general, right? There's not very many people from Florida, right, that go down and live in some of these cities. So it is transient in that regard. But yeah, that's what's annoying is I've lived here my entire life. And 2 weeks ago, I showed you my Final Four ball that never happened. That was a long time ago. Nothing ever happens here like that. I've been here my whole life. Your brother moves down to Tampa and all of a sudden he's got a Stanley Cup. He's got World Series. It seems like every other year, and he's got a Super Bowl. Doesn't seem fair. But like you say, nothing's fair.
It's not fair. You got to get over that. I remember when Tampa, they won the Stanley Cup, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next day, my brother sends me a video of his 2 sons skating in shorts and a t-shirt. And they're holding on to the wall. They can't even do it. And I'm just thinking about, I'm outside the other day with my kids in 12-degree weather and they're zipping all over the place. But yeah, it's funny how it works. It really is. And Florida is very unique in that regard as a fan base because, like you said, a lot of them are not from there.
What's left to say about Tom Brady? Is there anything we can possibly add to this ridiculous legend career? It's just you run out of stuff to say, I think, at some point, but I'm going to ask you. Well,
here's what I would say. I hate the debate about Belichick and Brady. I just hate that.
Yeah.
Can't we acknowledge that it was a phenomenal partnership and both were equally beneficial to each other? I don't know this, but did Tom Brady have a great year offensively? I think he had a good solid year, right? I don't know if he had a great...
he got hot towards the end and obviously played well in the first half the other day.
Yeah, but the bottom line, what Tom Brady does is his influence affects winning. And you can just tell he cares about it. He has a confidence about it. He puts in the work. He's about winning. And all of a sudden, other guys gravitate towards that. And in any locker room, pro is totally different than college in a lot of ways. But if you get that, where one of your best players is all about winning and all about working, that's really, really powerful. So whether it's the Wolves or the Wild or the Vikings or the Twins, locally or the Lynx, it's just when you get somebody like that, it can change a locker room and, it can give a lot of people a lot of confidence.
Patrick Mahomes was a kindergartner when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl. Grimmer, you were there for that one, weren't you?
I was covering that for KMOX Radio in St. Louis, and the Rams were monster favorites. And I was sitting in the upper deck in the press area of the Louisiana Superdome, not believing what I was watching. I could not believe that the New England Patriots were going to win the game, and Vinatieri hits the field goal. And at that time, I remember Super Bowl week leading up to it, people were talking about this is a dynasty. The Rams are a dynasty.
Right.
This is their second Super Bowl in 3 years. Kurt Warner might go, he might. And it was a foregone conclusion the Rams are going to win it. And I wish I knew how to, come up with bets and had a crystal ball, because I think of the money at that point you could have made if you would have, people were, remember, he wasn't even the starter. Drew Bledsoe was the starter of that team, and he just kind of got put in late. That if you'd have said in the next 20 years, Brady's going to go to half the Super Bowls, people would have been like, sure, you're right, bud. You mean Warner, right? And Warner ended up going back to a Super Bowl later with Arizona. With Arizona, probably should have won it. But crazy game. And I'll tell you what.
I was at that game.
Were you at that game as well?
I was too. Wow. You remember something that I remember. Crazy.
It's funny, when I was at Providence College, my buddies were like, hey, you want to go to Foxborough for the Patriots Oakland Raiders game and the playoff game, because Foxborough's 35, 40 minutes away from Providence. And I looked outside and I'm like, it's snowing. No, I don't want to sit through the snow for 3.5 hours. I'm not going. I'll watch it on TV. And it was like the most controversial game ever.
Tuck rule, baby. Yeah. Tuck rule.
Yeah, no doubt. And here we are all these years later. Brady is, unquestionably the best ever. All right. Hey, Guardsy, that's it. We got to take a break. You're running us a little long here with the long contested too, but that was as entertaining of radio as you're ever going to get.
We'll talk about Tom Brady again next year. We'll get it going.
I'm sure we will.
Back. Yeah. We'll get him back.
Probably. Knowing you, it'll probably be next week and the week after that and the week after that.
It's an absolute amazing thing to talk about, and I think anybody in sports should marvel over what that man has done.
It really is crazy. I mean, it's unbelievable. When you think about, all the Super Bowls, he's been to 19% of them, and since he's been in the league, he's been to like 53% of them. I mean,
amazing. Find any number you want.
Yeah, the next closest guy's been to 6, I think, right? So, all right, we'll take a break. We'll wrap up the show when we come back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. It's our last segment, Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino, presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors, and it's Minnesota and Purdue Saturday night, 6:30 the tip time from West Lafayette. Spencer and I will take air at 6. And I wanted to ask you one more quick question. I know we talked about Stepanovic being out. Travion Williams, we knew he was good. We've watched him develop. He now has really turned into a force. That should be, I don't know how much fun you'll have watching the battle between him and Robbins down low, but it will certainly be a good treat for basketball fans to watch that game. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, I don't remember having fun coaching during the game. After it's been fun, but he's terrific. Great passer, phenomenal passer out of the post, and gotten better and better and better. They run a lot of stuff for him to get the ball down there. So, Liam obviously has got to guard him without fouling. We have not been good when Liam's been in foul trouble. We in our games that we've won, Marcus and Liam have produced, and the ones where we haven't, it's been kind of one or two of not. So Liam's got to do a great job of defending without fouling. And that's going to be tough because you got Travion Williams, terrific. You got Edey, who's 7'4" off the bench. So their goal is going to be to get you in foul trouble.
Well, why you mentioned Edey? Why do they always have someone that's 9 feet tall? It seems like my entire life they've had somebody, whether it's, you can just go through the list of all the guys that they've had. It's crazy.
Well, it's funny. We recruited him a little bit, Zach Edey, and I remember going down to Florida. He was at IMG, and I think Liam was available at the time. So certainly we felt pretty confident we were going to get Liam, but you always got to kind of get a second and third option. And I remember saying Ed Conroy, like, who else is recruiting him? And he was like, us, Purdue. And so I'm like, he's going to Purdue. Like, there's no chance he doesn't go to Purdue. They just find a way, and obviously they've had success with it. Right. Whether it's Haas, they always have one guy every time that just is a load down there, and their system, they really slow it down and they run a lot of sets, and that fits obviously guys like him very, very well.
Yeah, you think about some of the guys, the bigs they've had over the years. Obviously, Harms, who's not there.
Swanigan.
As you mentioned, Haas, Swanigan, Juwan Johnson. Who else? AJ Hammonds was a load down there for a number of years as well. You youngsters don't remember way back. Joe Barry Carroll, I think, might have been the number 1 or 2 pick back in the 80s. So they've always had Russell Cross. They've had some big guys. All right, I want to ask you.
Purdue has quietly an amazing tradition. And a lot of people don't realize it until you go in that building. And, they have the most Big Ten championships of any team in the league.
Yeah, John Wooden played for him for so that should tell you how good they've been, no doubt. We've got about 30 seconds left.
Sure.
I want to ask you about Hunt Conroy. You put him on scholarship, kind of cool.
Yeah, he's been in our program for a couple of years. He's been phenomenal. He's a great kid. He wants to be a coach. He's been great academically, a great teammate. He works his butt off. So he deserves it. When a scholarship came available, at the break, certainly we wanted to kind of wait and see what might pop, what might not. And, at the end of the day, if you can reward a guy in your program like we've done in the past, we want to do that. So it's great for Hunt. I told Ed, I said, this is like you getting a raise, so don't ask me for a raise. And we can keep moving forward. But I am happy for Hunt. He deserves it. He's been a great member of our team and our program.
All right. Well, very good. Good luck on Saturday against the Boilermakers. It'll be fun to watch, and I know you won't be having any fun.
I will not be having any fun, but hopefully after I'll have some fun.
Indeed. Let's all celebrate Saturday night. For the head coach, Richard Pitino and Justin Gaard, I'm Mike Grimm. This is Gopher Basketball Weekly from Learfield, IMG College.